Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsyreplays. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to look at the top 5 least popular tanks for at least the last update. Now, we do this after every update, and we've got a few top 5 videos over the coming days or weeks. But this one is the least popular, the tank that is played the least in tier 10. So at number 5, with just over 220,000 battles, it is the AMX 54. Now, it is a French heavy tank. Turret is actually quite strong. Yes, it has weak points. The hull, I mean, it's nothing special about the hull. But overall, I think it's not a bad tank. It really isn't a bad tank if you play it correctly. And for a French, the armor is decent. It's not the best, but it is decent. And it does come for sale quite often, to be fair. Usually probably around the 20,000 gold mark, which is the usual price for a tier 10. So if you had 20,000 gold, should you get an AMX 54? I would say there's better tanks out there. It's not a bad tank by all means, but I would go to say that it is a little bit. There's better tanks out there, but it's okay. It is okay. Here we're going to completely carry. We're going to completely carry with a 1 versus 4. Yeah, we're not going to completely carry at all, but we are going to get the victory because that is what we do. I like the alpha. I do like the alpha. You do sort of high roll quite often. It did used to have the tungsten shells. I don't think it has anymore, which sucks, because the tungsten shells really did sort of help it out. But now I'm pretty much a 2-shot. I need to get a bounce from this guy, and as you can see, you can sometimes rely on the armor. We bounced 1200 damage, and just before we die, we get the victory. So yeah, number 5 is the AMX 54. Moving on to tank number 4. And we have the Chinese tank. Yes, we've got the Chinese light tank, the WZ1321. Now, this has had 155,000 battles over the last update. So it's the second most in this top 5. So it's not the least popular, but yeah, it's definitely in the bottom 5. Do I blame it? I know it's fairly new, but there's better light tanks out there. There are much better, and to be fair, I'd probably say that this is one of the, yeah, it is. I would say it's the worst light tank. Doesn't mean it's a bad tank. It's not overly bad, but considering you've got all the other light tanks out there, this is definitely the worst of the light tanks out of them all. So yeah, 155,000 battles played the last update. That's the entire update. That's not a lot. That isn't a lot at all. So clearly people are not liking it. They're not playing it. Doesn't mean they haven't got the tank. It just means 155,000 battles. That's not 155,000 players playing it. That is in total 155,000 battles. So yeah, considering in the most popular tanks, we see millions of battles played. But yeah, just 155,000, which is not a lot at all. Moving on to the next tank, the third least popular tank on this list. And it is the CS63. Now, some people would probably go as far as saying that this Polish medium is probably one of the worst tier 10 tanks in the game. Not just worst mediums, which is it is the worst medium. Again, I don't think it is a really bad tank at all. I don't think it's really, really poor. But if you look at all the other tier 10s, especially mediums, yeah, it is the worst. DPM is not that bad. It has a higher reload than a lot of the Russian mediums, as we know. But yeah, I still think it's I don't think it's a really bad tank. It can hold its own. You could do damage, but if you just compare this tank to all the other tier 10s out there, then yeah, I would go as far as saying it is one of the worst tier 10s in the game. But again, doesn't mean it's a bad tank. Doesn't mean it is a bad tank just because it's the worst tier 10. I don't think any tier 10 is really bad, but this is the worst. So moving on to the second least popular tank in the game for the last update. And of course, it's one of my favourite tanks in the game, the XM. What a tank this is. Honestly, I keep saying it every time I freaking play it. Absolutely amazing. And every time I play it, I love it just a bit more. Honestly, I think this XM 66F is one of the best tanks in the game. And that is mainly because I do think it is overpowered. Now, it's not popular because, of course, it was a very difficult tank to be able to get. It has never been sold at the moment. So, yeah, not that many people are playing the tank. 113,000 people. So, the CS63 was 132,000 battles, sorry, and the XM is 113,000 battles played in the last update. But I think when this tank does come for sale, if it does ever come in crates, or if it does ever just get outright sold, then I do think a lot of people will want to purchase this tank. Doesn't look all that. The tank, if you look at the tank, it doesn't look that special. But honestly, the armor, the DPM, even the speed to some extent is not bad at all. But I just think it is an overall fantastic tank, and it is very quickly becoming my favorite tank ever in this game. And a lot of that probably is due to it being quite overpowered. Not everyone is going to think it's overpowered. Again, that is my own opinion, but when you've got the armor this tank has got, when you've got the DPM that this tank has got, you know, it's hard to penetrate. It's hard to deal with the DPM. You know, it's an OP tank, and it is just a special tank that not many people are playing because, again, it was never sold. So, yeah, number 2. Moving on to the most unpopular tank in Blitz right now. What do you guys think it is? Now, if this tank that's never been sold is number 2, what could be number 1? Let's find out. And it is the 114, the WZ114. Nobody's playing it. Honestly, the last update, there was just 8,090 battles. 8,000. Considering the XM that's never been sold has 113,000 battles, this only has 8,000. So even though people own the tank, they're just not playing it. I don't think the tank is bad. I think the tank is actually alright. I think it looks fantastic. Love the camouflage. Love the alpha. Of course, there are better heavy tanks out there. But yeah, I don't mind the tank, to be fair. I don't think the armor's not great. The armor on this tank isn't great at all. But overall, I think it's a decent tank. Could do with a little bit more armor, but you know, it's... And yeah, that shot, just ignore that shot. That never happened. That shot never, ever happened. So, so yeah, 8,000, just over 8,000 battles played in an entire update is not a lot at all. But overall, I do think the tank is not a bad tank. It really isn't a bad tank. But yeah, the least popular tank in Blitz right now is this tank right here. Are you surprised at any tank in the list, or did you think there was going to be, or are you surprised that there is a tank that isn't on the list that you thought there will be? Let me know in the comments below. But for now, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'm meadsy69. As I said, there'll be more top 5 comings, you know, the least popular, the most popular, the highest damage, everything. We're going to look at all the stats in this last update. So again, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'm Meadsy, and I'll catch you all soon. Bye-bye.